That's great. What's up, guys? My name is Chikamoya, and thank you for joining me once again. So as you can see, I'm dressed up a little differently than I usually do, and that's because this episode is going to be something else. I'm going to start a new section or a new playlist here on my YouTube channel that just talks about local news, anything interesting or crazy, just anything I feel like I want to talk about. And I'd love to hear some of your responses. I'm going to be talking about some news that is really sensitive. So if you're someone who doesn't want to hear about something horrific that happened to someone, I would say don't watch this video. Something happened in Helsinki late last year that is making its round on the news, and I want to talk about it because it's something that has really affected me, and I haven't found any places that talk about this stuff in English to hear what people think. So I thought I'd bring it here and see what you think. I've said many times how Finland in general is not a violent country, but shit still happens. Back home in South Africa, on the news, I kept seeing horrific stories and it was crazy, it was bad, but I was so saturated with all this news, all this bad news, that I wasn't able to really give some of these stories my proper attention. Because after a while, you just get tired hearing so much bad news all the time. So that's why what happened in Helsinki a couple months ago has affected me so much. I haven't been able to get the story out of my head. So I'm going to summarize this quickly. It's about teenage boys who killed one of their friends. Reading this story just wrecked my mind. So I'm gonna read this article. I'll post the link to this article below. Police release investigation material on Koskela teen's death. Material released by police on Monday sheds more light on the event that led to the death of a 16-year-old boy in Helsinki in December. According to the information released to the public, the victim had been bullied for a long time, and social services and schools failed to help or protect him. Information from the police also revealed that one of the suspects had possibly bullied the victim since they were both in kindergarten. The three teens had met with the victim numerous times previously, and some sort of punishment game had been played, which had led to the victim being beaten and humiliated. Based on messages sent by the trio, the violence on the 4th of December had been planned in advance. According to the pre-trial material released by the police, the violence was exceptionally brutal, humiliating, and prolonged. At the end of it, the victim was left lying outside in the cold with his clothes partially stripped off. According to the prosecution, the cause of the victim's death was several rib fractures, brain contusion, and brain hemorrhage caused by the injuries. They did a whole bunch of stuff to him, and according to some reports, there was literally no part of this kid's body that was not damaged or cut or bruised or broken in some sort of way. And these are kids. They were 16 years old each. Like, these kids were 16 years old, now turning 17. And they did this to their friend. I mean, even if it's someone that you don't like, even if it's someone that you really, really don't like, how could you go so far? So they beat up this kid, left him in the park half naked, broken ribs, messed up head, and all that kind of stuff. And they left him in the cold. And in Helsinki around that time, it was really cold. You know, you were getting around -5, 10, 15 degrees Celsius. And they left them there. And then it carries on and says, none of the three teenagers called the emergency services or told any adults about what happened over the weekend. Instead, they scoured the internet for information on how to destroy any traces of DNA left at the crime scene and whether they could dispose of the victim's body. What? What? What the? Like, I don't understand this. It's Anyway, it carries on and it says, some of the kids speaking to each other, they said, "We're in Finland, so we'll get away with it if something happens." The oldest of the three had messaged the others. It had already become evident that some of the messages may have been meant to be found by the police, according to the prosecutor. The two younger suspects comforted each other and laid blame on the older suspect's shoulders in their messages. So these aren't kids that were just dumb, that did something by accident. They knew what they were doing. At least from what I'm reading here. It's crazy. This whole thing's really disturbing to me. Maybe it's because there usually isn't such crazy stuff happening here, that when something crazy does happen, it's so visible. It's so in your face. I haven't been able to stop thinking about this because, like, my heart really goes out to the kid who just needed good friends and was abused by these little thugs, and it ended with his life ending. That's crazy. On Monday at 8:05 a.m., a builder working on the hospital grounds found the victim and called the emergency response center. At the same time, the parents of one of the suspects had already guessed that something was wrong. Their son had been sick throughout the weekend, and he had even gone to get a coronavirus test because of his symptoms. I just came out of the shower and now I'm trying to figure out how to say this, the boy had written in a message to his friend, one of the other suspects. At 10 a.m. on Monday, the boy's mother found out what had happened and called the emergency response center. The police were still at the scene at Koskela Hospital grounds at the time. The mother of one of the accused said, "I don't know if it was fear and panic that made them not call the emergency response center." One of the suspects had also told his girlfriend about the victim's death the day before. According to her, however, the boyfriend had not mentioned his own involvement in the events, but had said the older suspect had beaten the victim to death. And if I'm not mistaken, in the story, after they beat up this kid and left him for dead outside, they left, and one of them actually came back to the scene and saw that the injured boy had moved a bit. And instead of calling the police or calling the emergency services, he freaked out and ran away. This kid's body was found a couple days later. I'm sorry today's video isn't very fun and exciting, guys. It's just, I really thought it was important to do this because I haven't been able to find any places for people to talk and to kind of figure out what could have led to this. During the police investigation following the death, police questioned each suspect on several occasions. None of them could tell a reason for why they had treated the victim so cruelly. And anyway, right at the end of the article, it says, the three boys are on trial for murder in Helsinki District Court. Murder is usually punishable by life imprisonment, but because the suspects are minors, they cannot be sentenced to life in prison. Minors can be sentenced 2 to 12 years imprisonment for murder. In addition to the murder charges, the prosecutor has filed charges for a total of 9 assaults, robbery, and incitement to the robbery for previous incidences. Because this apparently was not the first time that they either robbed or hurt someone. Man, when I first heard this story, I was just really confused. Here in Finland, yes, of course, there's still unemployment, there's still poverty in certain places, but it's at a much smaller scale than somewhere like South Africa or other countries. So in my head, I'm just thinking, I'm like, what is it? What could have been in their minds to act that way? You know, they got the victim drunk first. They planned it ahead, and then they went to this area and then they beat him up and didn't just beat him up. They were really cruel. They did things. They did humiliating things, and I'm just blown away. I don't understand it. Like, what do you guys think? What would make teenagers, 16 years old, act that way? You know, could it be the way they're brought up? Maybe they weren't finding love and comfort at home, or they just made a choice, you know, and the choice ended in someone else's death. Maybe they watched too many movies. But even in movies, I find it hard to find situations like this, you know, and I love horror movies. I love horror movies, but even in those, damn, this was scarier than any horror movie I've ever seen. Let me know what you guys think and some of your thoughts on this, and because it seems like the school system in this situation failed this kid, this lonely, desperate kid. Perhaps the counseling side of schools was just lacking. So I don't know, guys. This story it was just bugging me so much. I felt like I had to share it with someone and to hear some of your thoughts. I'm sorry this one was not a fun video, but I promise I'll bring something else out soon that will make you laugh a little bit more. If you enjoy my content, please leave me a like and a subscription. I would really appreciate it. If you want to support the channel, you can get one of these. Everything's in the description below. Have a fantastic day, evening, or wherever you are. Cheers for now. Bye.